just want to start. I just want to start with. There's one really good joke in the movie, and it's this right here.
That's right. The used cow dealer. That's
Honest Arnie, high pro, the used cow dealer.
That's right.
I thought it was good.
No brand new cows here. We just get the used ones.
I just don't understand how I had never seen this movie before.
Yeah,
me neither.
I love Manchurian Candidate and Ronin.
This seems like it's so ahead of its fucking time in so many ways.
It really, watching it again, it just jumps out at me.
Third movie in the trilogy.
7 Days in May.
7 Days.
7 Days in May. That's very much the.
I was literally going to pick the other two movies from the Paranoia trilogy this week, except neither of them are available to stream anywhere that isn't like $5.
Wow.
Like I was bummed about
that.
I'm
surprised that Criterion doesn't have them.
Apparently not. It's weird.
Well, this was such a I was watching it again. It was just I was amazed by how simple and clean it was. It was just
goddamn. James Howe Wong was
James
really
Wong Howe was right there in their face at the time.
I don't know if I would call it clean, but simple. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was simple. It was kind of it's a little messy.
There's one sequence in the movie that
was it John Randolph, the guy who played before guy?
Yeah, John Randolph.
Jesus Christ!
Oh, he's
second
so
time
good.
out, you realize what a great fucking job he did.
Yeah, and he was like the last blacklisted actor that actually got to come back to Hollywood.
No fooling.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Sheila and I were trying to place him, and I'm like, "Is that Martin Balsam?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think it is." And they were like, "No, wrong."
Well, and he also started out on the stage in New York as a Yiddish actor.
But he became like in the '90s. He was always like the grandpa on like all these great like character. You know, he was a great character.
But he's got this like this kind of this big kind of middle-aged face and a little chin that sticks out, and he's like. Yet the weight of the world is on him. You can tell he's just like aging and can't help it. And it's like it's killed whatever spark he had in his life.
I watched this movie when I was probably 20 years old.
Right.
And seeing it now, 40 years later.
Like you really identify?
Well, yeah. I mean, there were things about it I liked then, but there's things that completely went over my head.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And it was like, to me, the greatest scene is when he goes back home and sits down and talks to his wife.
Right.
About her late husband.
husband.
My God, the writing of that scene. It's like I thought of the Twilight Zone, of course, when I was watching.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people did.
This is like a top tier Rod Serling Twilight Zone.
The obviously the standout also is the camera work is just ahead of its time, so inventive, so creative, so genius, so well done, so weird. Like I swear to God, like they're doing like Snorri Cam on this, which was like before, like
all
way
the criticisms,
before.
All the criticisms that I gave to Cremator last week about the like close-ups,
too much style.
Like this is so good at that. Like every one of those close-ups is just like fuck, things are getting worse. Fuck, things are getting worse. Like every time it's just like.
Well, and I thought
this was one of the Bacchanalia scenes, and I hate to bring it up, but in one scene there's an Airy 2C right there. They got a camera in front of a camera.
But they could be filming that.
Yeah, I saw the camera. I saw a guy holding a camera. And
that was a one scene where this dude had the very thing is.
I recently saw
the thing they filmed there was an actual wine festival.
Yeah.
Where?
They just shot it without sound.
Where?
So that was my least favorite scene in the movie.
So it was actually Santa Barbara.
Yeah, it is definitely the worst scene in the movie.
It's the worst scene in the movie. And back to what Scott said at the top, this is a very simple sort of picture, to be honest. Like, not that there's not complicated or complex themes in this, because there very much is. But the storytelling is very simple, right? It's from, you've got the guy goes in and then he comes out. And then literally once he comes out as Rock Hudson, he only has like two scenes, the grape and then the party at his house. Like pretty much that's it.
Yeah, it's almost too
well, and then the end.
It is almost too spare.
I kept waiting for more to happen, for him to go somewhere else. My only critique, because I think there's so much to love in this picture, but that wine festival sequence was just weak. It was really bad. It was really dumb. You could tell it was shot on the fly. They didn't really know what they were doing. I don't know why it was in there.
Hippie 60s, not late hippie 60s.
Yeah,
it takes you out of the film.
It does. That's the only part where I was like, get rid of this.
Although
the party at the house was great because you could see his downfall. Like his acting in that party at the house was tremendous. And
this is the best acting Rock Hudson ever did.
Well, the thing is, this is going back to what
really wanted to try and spread, grow in a different direction.
Yeah.
Other than those goddamn rom-coms.
But I love those Douglas Sirk movies.
Doris Day movies, right? Yeah, well, he was in the Douglas Sirk movie.
Yeah, I love the Douglas Sirk role.
I'm going to build on what John said about. I haven't seen this since like I was in my 30s, and I saw it again right now. And one of the things I picked up on this time is that at the beginning of the film, he's coming home and he shows his wife a tiny bit of interest, and she this is the John Randolph version of him. Tries to cuddle him, and he gives that blank look, like, obviously he can't get it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's completely impotent at this point.
It's done.
And then further on, when he comes Rock Hudson, he's resisting going into the wine vat, resisting. And then he goes in there and he has that moment like, oh my God, this is great. And guess what happens? I'm guessing he finally got it up. That's what I think.
Remember,
this is like this is a male perspective, male mentality going into this film. That's what's important to the filmmakers.
I was impressed that they didn't touch a lot on the body, but I appreciated that they wrapped the hands. I appreciated the attention to detail in certain respects, because I think a lot of other pictures, even pictures today don't sometimes focus as much detail on. I mean, they talked about his vocal cords, which was really cool. They talked about like how he was going to sound different and how long it was going to take for him to be able to speak again. And these are things that, yes, I think like John would probably call it like, thoughtful or hard sci-fi. You think about this, right? You have to think about why is that going to happen. And I really appreciated all that, because even, still one of my gripes about Ex Machina is at the end when she starts taking pieces off of people, like she would look like a Frankenstein. They wouldn't all fit Alicia Vikander so perfectly. It's
well said. That's a good point.
Allegedly they shot some real like reconstructive surgery. And Frankenheimer
cameraman
took over the camera because the camera
really
faded or bombed.
Oh man, his stomach was weak.
Who we lose?
Johnny.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll wait till see if he comes back or not.
Bye, John.
But I do love, Scott, the scene behind you.
That
you're trying to figure out when he walks in the beginning of the movie, when he goes to the place, the company. And it's like, what are these guys sitting around with TV sets and looking bored?
Yeah, listening to headphones and TV sets and playing solitaire and things. They read the paper. Yeah. It's like
so these guys are
a make-work facility for Don Draper.
Well, they're all waiting to become dead.
They're all waiting to become organ donors, essentially.
Yeah, basically, they're organ donors.
Or I think they're waiting. There's their second chance. I'm not sure exactly why they're there, but they're trying to get more people recruited into it.
That's the thing is, I think they give you a promise of a second chance, but really they're just harvesting your body parts and your organs at that point.
That's pretty much it.
And so that's what happened, because he meets his friend there, right? And the friend was like, "Oh, yeah, he's the one who signed him up,
Mr. Robinson."
Yeah, Mr. Robinson.
And like I said, the guy went through the thing and he came out Rock Hudson. He was a painter in Malibu, which was kind of a mistake. Should have put him in Carmel where there'd be less temptation.
Well, it's Frankenheimer's house in Malibu.
Either way, the thing is, I think they gave away this idea at the end of the film where he says that they were talking about, he wanted to start over again. This time he'd have control over it. And he talked about he had, the problem. Will Gear, Grandpa Walton said, I just think the problem is he didn't have any dreams, and the guy couldn't refute it. It's like, yeah, I guess I didn't have any dreams. And if you don't have any dreams,
everyone thinks of
you don't have anywhere to go.
Grandpa Walton. I didn't really watch the Waltons, but he plays another great part as the psychiatrist in James Coburn movie from the mid-60s. President's
Analyst. Okay.
The President's Analyst.
Okay. Wow.
And he does a good job. I like him. And he was a friend of Woody Guthrie's.
Yeah, he was like old school wobbly kind of guy, right?
Yeah,
there's a little touch of the apartment in that shot behind Scott.
With the ceiling and all. And
also there's a bit of Orson Welles' The Trial.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, he could definitely. This is like Don Draper reinventing himself from Whitman, I guess.
I know it's interesting to see these films now after seeing Mad Men.
I know it's like it felt like it's almost the same.
Or The Game.
Yeah, or the game.
Yeah, the game.
But the whole thing about going to
they did a really,
Scarsdale, it's like, shit.
They did a really good job in this too, with both actors, both characters presenting what was going to happen to him in that office. You know, before you get to the old guy, the first guy. There was a lot of that was good writing. I thought like there's a lot of attention to detail, a lot of talking about what he has right now. You know, his existence, and then what he could have, or you know, how he has to say goodbye, and etc. And of course the creepy old guy, you know, basically the evil Colonel Sanders,
the
or
CEO,
whatever,
the
like,
evil kill. Welcome back, John.
There he is.
Yeah, hi. Bad Zoom crash. I had to restart the computer to get it to work.
Oh man, well you look better than ever, dude.
Oh, thanks, man.
I like your virtual background too.
Yes, it looks very realistic, doesn't it?
That's
Almost like I could reach out and touch it.
A bird could shit on you at any second.
Whoa! What a special effect!
This is the clip. I'm writing this down.
Oh god.
Please don't.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I mean overall this
Something more clever than that is.
That was pretty funny.
I can't. I'm so impressed with how this was 1966. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
John Frankenheimer's a fucking genius.
He is really superb for 66.
Yeah, it felt like what it was, which is based on a short story. It felt like reading a good short story.
Yeah. Although I have a question for you guys. I think that they get this dude and they give him the $30,000. You can be your own person. They give him the plastic surgery. He goes out to Malibu. They take care of him. You know, the president from the network is there to take care of the guy, right? And he's there. He's good. But then the thing that happens after the bacchanalia is that they throw a cocktail party, and you can tell this is the company doing this. The Parallax.
Yeah, that's what I didn't really understand about
Parallax.
It felt like they were setting him up to fail.
Well, that's what I mean. I didn't really understand why the company had so much involvement in his post-surgery.
Yeah.
Like I thought they would just let him go, you know, let him now go live a new life.
Look at what happens. He immediately starts talking about his old life and how
nephew, his daughter.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And all of that other shit. And it's like, well, you've broken the promise.
Yeah.
Like,
it seems unfair to me. You know what I mean? It's
no. Because remember, Scott, they introduced the girl to him first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's true. There's supposed to be like a month or two in there where they're dating and stuff. It's a little unclear, but
yeah. The passage of time is a little muddy in this one. It feels like it
it's
happened
a little muddy. Yeah,
very much.
But the thing is, like, it seemed like they got him. They put him in the thing. Okay, they're going to harvest his organs, but they just could have took him back to New York and just cut him open. But it seemed like they kind of like sent him up to fail. Like I said,
they don't harvest his organs. They don't harvest.
I don't disagree with you.
They make him into a corpse. Yeah,
he gets used. He gets put on the cadaver list,
which is a horrifying, awful scene.
By the way, Scott, if you remember the film that I made in college, Fierce Melody. I completely ripped off the ending of Seconds because it impressed me so much and used it as the beginning of that film.
Dang,
the guy on a gurney getting the last rites, and
I hope you have these tracking. We have to include it in this video. You know,
you should cut to a little clip because it's
okay. We'll send it to me later on. We'll give
it is a blatant ripoff.
That was a good sequence, beautifully executed.
Oh my God!
You could tell when they were cutting, when they're like. I mean, there was some continuity errors, but it was still really wonderful.
Again, the best acting Rock Hudson ever did.
Like, well said.
This thing behind me, where he's just flailing around, and they're putting the surgical tubing around his mouth to hold the gag in, and all of that, and he's just losing his shit the entire time.
You can see all the spittle on the pillow because he's really he's literally.
And it's just animalistic screaming by the end of it. Like he's just fucking going at that point in time.
He went for it.
And it's like, wow.
Did a good job, I thought.
But
I read he was always wanting to be taken more seriously, and I think this was an example of that.
Well, so that's the thing is like
you see a hint of it in that there's a William Wyler flick where he plays the gardener.
No, that's the
I thought that was the Douglas Sirk one.
That was
all that heaven allows.
All that heaven allows.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
And you see him sort of doing serious acting there.
Yeah.
No, he stretched out in a lot of Douglas Sirk films.
So he wanted to be in this movie, and Frankenheimer specifically didn't want him. Frankenheimer was like, no, I don't want him in my movie. He's too fucking shallow for this. Like blah blah blah.
Well,
and
He had to
And
prove
his-
himself.
or something.
His agent, Rock
Yeah.
Hudson's agent, was friends with Frankenheimer and was like, no, trust me, just let him do it. And Frankenheimer trusted him and cast him in the movie. And by a couple of years later was saying, this is the best acting I've seen in one of my movies.
Well,
Like,
it's not even that. It's that having Rock Hudson in this film breaks typage. It's like,
Right.
This old dude
definitely.
gets surgery, ends up looking like Rock Hudson.
Yeah.
And that is
Super
like,
handsome.
it tells the audience
Great.
volumes of without speaking a word.
It's
Yeah.
great.
it's the SNL bit where they do the Eye of the Beholder, and it's Pamela Anderson under all of the the bandages, like
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and they're
Oh,
and everyone else is like, oh man, she's so hot. And it's like,
And
no, she's not hot. That's not what this story is about. And they're like, no, but she's hot.
It also reminded me, what's the Bogart and Bacall flick that takes place?
Dark Passage.
Dark Passage, yeah,
Uh-huh.
it takes place from.
This
he
is some
escapes from
there's some
San
similarities to
Quentin.
this in Dark Passage.
Yeah,
Starts
yeah.
with the bandages.
Yeah. Also with this one, it's one of the things that you had saw is this new screen watching it again is that the original John Randolph character is kind of this stuffy, boring, kind of like
He's a
executive,
banker.
right?
He's a banker.
Yeah,
He's a banker. He's dull, and
and
so they
obviously
make him
his
into Rock
relationship with his
Hudson,
wife
and
is
he ends
very
up as an artist colony in Malibu,
boring.
and he's still this dull, stuffy banker.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
fact, up to the very end of the film, where he's like, I want to do this on my own terms. I want to be able
He's
to
still a
choose.
man who takes Metro North home every night. Like,
Yeah, he
that's
is. He
who
never
is.
breaks out of
Like,
his original mental space, really.
Yeah.
He sees it like it's kind of a frat boy
Yeah,
vacation.
well, you change your
It's
appearance.
kind of
It doesn't mean you
devastating.
change your mind.
Right,
Right,
he
it's kind of
changes
devastating.
appearance, is all that happened.
Right.
John, you were saying it's devastating because
It's kind of devastating because again, I go back to that scene with his wife, because his wife, thinking she's speaking to a stranger, confides in him about her
about
opinion of her husband that she would
Yeah.
have never said to his face.
right.
And it's
It's
all
brilliant.
exactly dead on.
Yeah.
It's
When
like,
she
I don't
says,
know what he wanted, and I don't think he did either. He was listening to this voice. It's so good.
Little
And
voice
she
in
says
his own
something like,
head.
"The truth
"Where-
is,
where's that paper?"
he was dead long before that hotel fire."
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Right,
Yeah.
that's our clincher.
He was there for the watercolors. As I threw that out. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
So okay, so Scott, you brought something up, and I thought you were going there, so you didn't. So
Fish it off.
All right. I just want to point out, logically, okay, 30 grand, even back in 60, what is this movie? 62?
66.
66. He gets state-of-the-art cosmetic surgery,
Uh-huh.
a couple of months of therapy, all these people attending to him. Then he gets a full-time 24/7 butler, and then other employees that he doesn't even know are working for the company, helping
Yeah.
him along on this
Yeah.
rehab thing. 30 grand and a brand new house in Malibu and a new identity. What a deal.
It's a
I don't
good
think
because
deal.
they have to
I know.
keep killing these people because
I know.
they all
they just
fuck
need to
up.
raise their price. That
No.
doesn't pencil out, man.
No, that's like
No,
30
it does
million.
pencil out because
No,
these guys only last a couple of weeks. Like it's
And
like
they said that.
this is a volume business.
Oh, I see.
Will Garrett's character says this mostly doesn't work. Try, and then mostly most people fail it. Also, 30,000, a factor of 15 to that, like inflation. So it's 30,
Well,
300.
you
It's like a quarter
Well,
of
at
a
least you have a hell of a
It's only
story. I mean,
$500,000.
otherwise you got this boring.
Yeah, okay,
ass
it's a
life
$500,000
if it
You
was
can
that.
buy a house for under 10,000.
Yeah, but not in Scarsdale, you can't.
not Malibu. Yeah,
So the high failure rate is part of the business
but
model.
he
Right,
doesn't own the
exactly.
house
They
in
sent
Malibu.
over.
He's just
Right.
using it.
Another argument is
She's going to be
this guy-
sleeping with some dude who was a fucking banker in Chicago next week because they just
Yeah.
brought another person in. Like,
Yeah,
it's
pretty
just-
much. They're expanding their business, but also they're admitting the fact that it doesn't work. It's like you can
Yeah.
say this film is about a guy who gets caught into a system that doesn't actually work properly.
Yeah.
Well, you
That
get
most
that
of John
like- but it's
Frankenheimer
like-
films are about.
But
But they're
guy
hoping
who
like there's
runs
like
caught in a
one of
system
them.
that
There's
doesn't
a
work
chance
properly.
that one might work. Just one.
No, The Matrix is a story about a guy.
Well,
who
every
doesn't work
person they
properly.
have, every
It's a
person they
volume
have
business,
who
you know.
works, every person they have who works kicks money back down to them as they go
Oh, it's a
on
pyramid
through the
scheme,
trust.
It is.
Yeah.
it's a
It's
Ponzi
made
scheme.
up.
In fact, his absolute refusal to do that at the end was interesting. It's like, I don't know anybody I
Yeah.
could recommend it to.
I think that's why they killed him.
He was just being a dick, you know. It's like
Yeah.
he signed his own death warrant at the end.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
why they killed him.
Yeah,
Also,
pretty much.
I just want to point out that I know about this movie and I watched it for the first time like 15 or 16 years ago because it's in Slavoj Žižek's Ideology for Perverts
guide.
Wow.
Yeah. And his thing is that this whole movie is about what happens when you achieve your base desires. Like, this is what you want. This is how the world treats you when you get what you want.
It's like a Maslow's pyramid thing.
Yeah. It's like you have 100% achieved what you want. Now go live with it.
Now what?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
The dude at that point, the highest.
Also, I did that without Fleming at any point. So I'm not actually Zizek.
The screenwriting moment, is this the moment of highest settled success? Remember that term?
Highest settled success. Yes.
Yeah. It was probably when he was trying to paint, where he had this guy helping him out. He's trying to figure out his new style before the shit hit the fan. It was like, at that point, he could have like settled down and got into it and made it work. But
I thought about that. I had that very thought when there was that shot of him standing by his swimming pool.
Yeah.
And I thought, here you are. This is everything you wanted. Everything that's wrong with your life that you've hated all your life is now gone. You know, you're in the perfect circumstances and you're going to fuck it up.
Yeah, but by nature, we want more, or we self-sabotage, subconsciously.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because nothing is ever... It's always what's next.
Well, and we don't really know what we want.
Yeah, we think.
Like, I think that's a lot of this.
In a way, that to me was one of the most disturbing things about the film. Again, going back to the scene with the wife in the house,
right?
Is that she said that he was sort of blank. He thought he wanted something. He was never happy, but he didn't know what it was that he wanted.
But I mean, this film proves
he thought he wanted that wife, and he thought he wanted the daughter to like at least send him a card or something.
Actually,
but he does want the daughter. What is the last thing that happens at the end of this movie? He remembers that moment on the beach with her, right as he dies.
Yeah.
That was the best thing in his life was her.
Yeah.
And as his life is being snatched away from him by this company, the thing that he thinks about is that relationship with his daughter. And that's in some ways the most positive outcome of this movie. Is there's that moment of like, oh, I didn't fuck all the way up. I thought I fucked all the way up.
You did one good thing.
And I did this good thing.
Yeah, before Saul Bass takes it and goes, wow, 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 wow.
Right.
Oh, those opening titles.
The opening titles were great. Oh,
and they cost like 50 cents. They just got a piece of Mylar or whatever. And
because Saul Bass, nobody knew who the fuck he was when he was doing this. So
right. Come on, he's
so
great.
creepy. Also, I want to comment on, I forget when we got into the picture as much, but that opening, at least anyway, I really liked the score for the most part to this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially that opening. Yeah, the whole
opening kind of post-psycho feel to it. You know?
Visuals. Yeah, but it also had like a creepy, like it wasn't.
That was John.
It didn't feel overt. It didn't feel, but it felt like a new, different thing. Like a thriller. You know, I don't know. It was just really cool.
While we're talking about the opening titles, seeing it again, I had kind of forgotten what they looked like, and of course, the movie wasn't out the first time I saw this movie. But Alien 4. One of the best things is the opening credits, and it's a computer generated version of basically the same idea.
Yeah,
and it's great.
So how did they? That was a Mylar, and it was just like a reflection, and they were bending it.
Yeah, but in Alien 4, they do all this.
They're doing all morphing
issue and stuff.
Yeah, but it's all gross, like surgery stuff. So
yeah, it's fantastic, actually.
Yeah. So you know what?
Obviously, they saw this and were.
Now, at this point, I believe we should hear from Chris, who's being voiced by the mellifluous Midwest tones of Tad here, who's got this fantastic speaking voice, who's going to tell us Chris's opinion about this film.
That shit the fuck out of this.
Oh, man. Come on, you're great.
No.
I sound like a surfer dickhead.
He's not from the Midwest. He's from fucking Port Chester.
No, I'm not. I'm from New York
City. I know.
But anyway.
From Village.
Really glad Scott picked Seconds. I've always thought that John Frankenheimer was underrated as a filmmaker and was eager to see this due to its reputation as a 60s paranoid classic. The central point of the character that gets rebooted has been done to death at this point, but I think Seconds did it first. This is a pretty dark movie overall. I was reminded of that quote from Buckaroo Banzai: no matter where you go, there you are. And if you're a middle-aged banker who's a miserable bastard, changing your face to look like Rock Hudson, the epitome of 60s masculinity, won't fix that. Even though at times it plays like a feature-length Twilight Zone episode, there's a lot that works about seconds. Mostly the hallucinatory quality of the first half. I think it did a nice job of being halfway between too much style and the best style. The cinematography has been written about at length over the years, and I agree it's quite striking. Glad I saw it finally. Thumbs up.
Damn.
No, I really do think they're doing Snorri Cam. Those behind their back shots, you know, when the camera, I mean, I think it might be mounted to their body.
Remember that lockdown thing? You see it later on in movies, but that's the first time I've ever seen it.
Yeah. Well, like
where the cameras catch the person and they're walking around.
Yeah,
they didn't shut down.
Which that got bigger, you know, in the early 2000s. But
right.
To do it back then, and obviously we just saw on the thread like the size of cameras back then.
Well, the 2C was pretty small, you know that.
Well, except like for the wine thing, they used an Aries C.
But they said they used a 2C for most of that's the MOS stuff,
and you could put cameras couldn't fit in the fucking doorway.
A 100-foot mag in there. There's only about the size of a toaster.
This is 60, so yeah, I mean, you could tell by like the gurney scene and the Bacchanal scene is like those cameras were small and light, and they were
that gurney scene. That camera is locked to the gurney.
They made a frame around it, probably.
Oh, you think so? Yeah.
No, it is, because as he's tracking down the hole, it never moves.
Yeah.
In relationship to his face, it is there.
Right.
Everything moves around it.
Back and forth.
Which is all of that is so impressive, to be honest.
I think Chris pointed out, I love that whole trend. The movement, like it starts out with an address like 32 Lafayette Street, and then goes to this one dude pressing stuff. It's like, no, go this place.
Oh, the guy with the mangle was great.
And then he goes up the meat market, dude, and it's like put him in the van. It's like, it's really a
Mr. Wilson.
So no, when he's like, I would prefer to ride in the front, and they're like, clients ride in the back. It won't be a long trip.
It's just company policy.
And then he gets in, and he sits down, and he goes, "Oh, here's your hat."
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, is because you're meat, basically.
Yes, absolutely. Walking him through the meat plant was just a beautiful touch.
It was a really nice touch. I guess we used
cows.
Used cows. Yeah, thumbs.
Love that movie.
Love that film.
Sure.
Okay.
Really glad I finally saw it.
Way ahead of its time.
I can't believe you didn't see it before, Jim. That's nuts.